Hey guys, King Proverb here with another video. Today I'm going to be going over my settings. It shouldn't be an overly long video. Just gonna kind of breeze through them, talk about some of the notable ones that I think need more explaining. But over time I've kind of found that these are the best. I think they'll be similar to most high-level players, so let's get into them. So starting off with gameplay, the first one to talk about really is the damage numbers, which I just use stacking. I know some people will use both, but I just like stacking because it's less numbers on my screen, a little bit less visual clutter. Um, so it's always nice to have less visual clutter. Ping opacity. My goodness, I use faded. It just makes it so
Might be something
pings
to
are a
look
little
this
bit
way.
easier to see through than if they're on default. They kind of like
Hostile right here.
block your vision a little bit more. So it's a good thing to have on. Um, this one, weapon auto cycle and empty, I've off. Don't want to change my guns because sometimes it's better just to reload your SMG rather than pull out like a 30-30 or something. This is something I've done more recently. I use auto sprint. I was a big no auto sprint guy for a while, but recently I turned it on. Just nicer, kind of saves your stick. It's nicer not just having to press sprint every single time. Um, Another one, this is like really only useful for Valk, which is jetpack control. I would always have this on hold. Um, Gives you a lot more control than like having to double tap to stop using your jetpack. Another big one, taking damage closes boxes. You always want this on off. Otherwise, if you're going for armor swap in the fight and someone shoots you, it'll just close the death box. So always have this one off. Um, Not much to talk about most of these. I don't play with streamer analysis mode because no one's stream sniping me. Reticle color, I use like a greenish color, like kind of a light green, so it doesn't really blend in with the grass. To be honest, default red is fine too. It's not that big of a deal. Kind of go with what you prefer. I don't play with any colorblind settings. Skip past mouse and keyboard. Onto controller settings. I use default stick layout because I use a battle beaver, so I have two back buttons, so I can slide and jump without taking my finger off the stick, which is nice. Crouch, I play toggle. Some people play hold. I just don't want to hold the crouch button the whole time. So I think is preference. I don't think it really matters. I don't play toggle aim, and I don't know that any controller players play toggle aim. None of this really matter. I don't use normal PS5 controllers, or triggers, so adaptive doesn't really change. I was never a big fan of them, but you can kind of do whatever you want. No trigger, dead zone. Menu cursor speed kind of up, but doesn't need to be all the way up. Still want control of it. Now getting into the big thing, sensitivity. I play 4-3 linear, no dead zone. For a really long time, I played like 4-4 or 4-3 classic. About 8 months ago, switched to 4-3 linear. Haven't wanted to go back. I think 4-3 linear is probably the optimal sensitivity, but at the end of the day, I do think sensitivity is somewhat preference as to what you want. I just know there's not many professional players that still play on classic. Most of them have gone to linear or linear-esque ALCs. If you are playing classic, not the end of the day. But if you want to try and switch, I would not suggest swapping like right to linear no dead zone. What I did when I swapped is I swapped 4-3, I played linear, and then I just played small dead zone to kind of get used to that a little bit, since linear is so different than classic. And then I switched to no dead zone. And once you switch to no dead zone, the big thing is really just getting used to stick drift, because like you're always gonna have stick drift. Like as you can see, this controller has pretty bad stick drift. And the big advantage of linear is just the responsiveness. Like, I can't play classic anymore because it's not responsive enough. Just with following the targets, you can't micro adjust as well, which is the big thing, because in this game, micro adjustments are like the most important thing. So yeah, no dead zone. Everything's on small. Don't use ALCs. Don't play with vibration because it can throw you off. I'd recommend not playing with vibration if you do. Now, video settings, all like fairly normal. I play max field of view. You can play whatever field of view you're most comfortable with. I would recommend playing probably at least 95 or 100, because getting lower than that, you're just going to be severely impacted with what you can see. So, disable FOV ability scaling, because if you're in a Bloodhound ult or like an Octane stim, like it's going to change how it looks, and that's not great. Obviously, minimal U-shake, and then basically all my video settings are low or off. Having your game look good doesn't really matter when you're a comp player. So, and I even know like a lot of the big streamers that are also competitive players, like Hal, like and Verholz, they play like everything on low, just because you want to max out your FPS. You don't want to risk your FPS dropping, because having good FPS is the most important thing with performing well. So, and the big setting with FPS is obviously this NVIDIA reflex. Make sure you have an enabled plus boost. You can play like no VRAM texture, but I have like these skins, so I want to be able to see them a little bit. So that's why I play with a little bit of texture streaming budget. Audio, I don't play 100, but the game likes to reset to 100 every single time you go in. I just play like 75%, but my PC audio is pretty low going out to my headset, so, and none of this really matters too much. It's all basically what you want. I just don't like to hear the music, so I just have it off. Make sure you keep some dialogue volume on, because some of the comms that in-game characters give, like squads landing nearby, or like wraiths, if you're playing wraith, someone looking at her, like those types of audio are good to have. So you should definitely have some dialogue volume on. But I mean, that's really it for my settings, to be honest. Also, notably, I play with like a low or mid-rise control freak, just because that's what I've always been comfortable with. I just like the little bit of more control it gives me. You obviously don't have to. If you're comfortable using the normal stick, then that's fine. I know a lot of pro players don't use control freaks, so it's really whatever you're comfortable with. And that's ultimately what a lot of these settings come down to. It's just what you're comfortable with. Obviously, settings are more optimal than others, but with your response curve and your sense overall, that really just comes down to preference. Although I wouldn't suggest like going above like 5 or 6 cents for vertical or horizontal, because you're only going to be making yourself a little bit less consistent. So I would keep it down a little bit. If you're on classic, definitely try out linear for a little bit, because at one point I tried it out and was not great on it just because it was different, and so I switched back to classic, but eventually I tried it out again. So, give it a good test, see what is really the best for you, and yeah. I appreciate you guys watching. If you liked the video, please like and subscribe, leave a comment on anything you'd like to see in the future, any questions you might have, and I'll talk to you guys next time.